In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Mercury retrograde in Pisces that we're in right now. It is going to be unfolding until March 20th. And I titled this podcast, The Soft Delusion Era. Okay, let's talk about it. Mercury retrograde. It happens a few times a year. Usually never a big deal. Why do we have Mercury retrogrades in our system? Why are we designed this way, that we have a few times a year Mercury, the planet of communication, that will be going into a retrograde? Because we get this opportunity to actually take a look at something and pause. It's almost like a little cleanse in a way for our mentality, for our mindset, and anything that actually requires for us to pause. So I feel that all of these Mercury retrogrades are true blessings. Again, they happen about 3 to 4 times a year, depending on how Mercury is moving through the sky, what sign it is moving through. So astronomically, it's when Mercury appears to move backward in the sky. But astrologically, it's a review period. It's the universe basically ruining your Wi-Fi connection for a little bit. Usually during this time, we do experience a lot of technical issues. So it's sort of like that kind of a thing that happens because Mercury rules over communication of all sorts, but also on a psychological level. Let's circle back to this. Let's come back to this situation because, like I said, Mercury rules over communication, technology, contracts, travel, rational thinking, technical skills, and how do you actually process information? So if you ever are curious about how you prefer to be communicated to or your style of communication, you would go to the part of your chart where Mercury is at. And then you want to take a look at what sign it's in, what house it's in, what degree it is in. So right now, Mercury is retrograding and slowing down in the realm of Pisces. And this is really, really interesting because Mercury, is in a position where usually it does not like to be in Pisces. Okay, we're going to get technical for a second. Every planet has what we call a dignity. That just means, where does the planet function well? A planet in its domicile is at home. A planet in exaltation is honored, best possible place. A planet in detriment or fall is in a challenging environment. Usually this type of planet does not like to be in the zone of a certain sign. So right now, Mercury is in a sign where it doesn't really like to be in. Now, at the same time, we also have Jupiter in Cancer. And this Mercury retrograde is definitely connected to this Jupiter in Cancer because Jupiter in Cancer is in its exaltation and traditionally considered very strong in Cancer. It thrives here. It's supportive, it's nurturing, it's abundant. Venus is in Pisces, just a couple more days until March 5th. And Venus is exalted as well. Venus loves Pisces. She is romantic, she is poetic, she is unconditional. But Mercury in Pisces, well, like I said, not the favorable place. It is in its fall here. Mercury likes logic. Pisces is vibes. Mercury likes bullet points. Pisces is like, I just feel like it. Mercury is very emotional in Pisces. It's pacifying, sometimes unclear, idealistic, projecting dreams that have not been fact-checked. This is not a spreadsheet energy. This is a journal entry. I am crashing out on sugar. I am eating a bunch of snacks because I can't fall asleep type of energy at 2 o'clock in the morning. That is what we're taking a look at with this Mercury retrograde. But let's dive a little bit deeper into it. Let's add some timelines. Welcome back to the Astro Tea, my friends. The first timeline that is really important to mention is February 25th. That's when Mercury stationed at 22 degrees in Pisces. When a planet stations, it slows down. This is the timeout where the planet is like, all right, putting on the brakes, delays and pauses. Wait, let's rethink all of this. 22 Pisces carries a very specific energy. 22 is a master number, master degree. It carries the emotional fulfillment energy. It carries family and happiness and the dream life, specifically in the degree of Pisces. This is basically everything I ever wanted vibe. Okay, this is like, I really ever really wanted this. I am dreaming this up. Like, if my life was just like this, that is what Mercury is reviewing. It is my dream is coming true, even though there might be also at the same time something that is unfolding in your life that is not the best possible place to be in, the best possible like circumstance. You are right now in this place where you're being shown in this particular Mercury retrograde that, your emotional needs are here. They're showing up. And what is it that you need to be honest about? So there is a boundary that's dissolving around it within your mindset so that you can actually get access to this emotion of like happiness, the dream life. Mercury basically giving you access to think differently about where Mercury is unfolding in your chart. Okay? You get a moment here to dream up something that maybe you felt was not accessible or you couldn't slow it down enough, but now it is. So Mercury is conjuncting Venus right at the moment as it kind of goes into this phase of it retrograding. Now, this is where it gets interesting because Venus was at Pisces at 22. So was Mercury at 22. And when it conjuncted, okay, Venus is exalted. Remember, Venus is at a good possible place. Venus is a benefic, meaning the brightest light, giving Mercury a support, harmonizing Mercury, bringing ease to Mercury. Venus in Pisces is romantic, compassionate, artistic, a little delusional, but in a poetic way. So this conjunction started a conversation that is healing, a conversation that is resurfacing, maybe even about old lovers. So you might have all of a sudden flashbacks to old lovers, old friendships, old sort of in the past type of relationships. This can also bring apologies into your life. Somebody that comes back from the past that uses now softer words, softer ways of being with you. I just want peace because it's dreamy. But remember, Mercury is in its fall. So clarity right now is questionable. Intentions are emotional. Logic is optional. So this is sort of like a moment where I forgive you even though I haven't processed anything yet, kind of transit. It's sweet. We don't want to ruffle the feathers too much. But at the same time, okay, don't assign to this apology with glitter ink. Don't like use this, rose-colored moment to say, okay, it's all forgiven, unless you really feel in your heart that it's time to, okay? You have to keep in mind that there's a lot more that is going to unfold. Why is this Mercury retrograde unfolding the way that it is right now? Here's what I'm seeing. You really get an opportunity here to gain back happiness. And at the same time, I do believe that the moment, okay, that Venus starts to turn, because Venus is about to go into Aries, you now have to move on from something. You now have to decide that your patience only goes so far, and it was really nice, but now you have to make the changes necessary. And that is what Venus in Aries is going to bring us, because Venus is changing signs March 6th. Okay. The day that I am recording this, it is March 4th, the last day that Venus is going to remain in Pisces. So what we want to consider here is that we are in this place where we are being given sort of a softening boost before the action boost. Okay, Venus in Aries is a completely different energy when it comes to relationship dynamics. And the switch isn't random because it is happening right at the time as Mercury is still going to be retrograding, because this retrograde goes until the 20th. And there's a couple more things that are going to be really important here that allow for people to initiate a fresh start. Okay. Now, Venus in Aries doesn't have a whole lot of patience. It wants things now. It wants it now. It wants the truth now. It wants the relationship now. It wants to go on to this date now. It wants the manifestation of their dreams now. And so this energy is incoming. And while Mercury is retrograding, there is going to be a very, very important turning point here that's tied to Jupiter as well. All of this is happening while Jupiter is turning direct. Now let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter rules over expansion, okay? Jupiter is growth. It is a time in your life, wherever Jupiter is in Cancer right now, where you are growing not only your beliefs, but emotionally as well. Okay, there is an aspect where you are growing your emotional beliefs about certain aspects. So let's say it is in your first house. Well, you're, growing your beliefs about yourself, and you are in essence having like a homecoming moment with yourself. Let's say it's in your second house. Well, Jupiter is going to be growing your productivity. It is going to be growing your money in some kind of a way in which you might handle money. How do you make money? Maybe it is bringing you a new car, a new house. The impulses that Jupiter has is towards this expansion, this type of optimism. Okay, there is generosity and tolerance and acceptance of things that are attached to Jupiter, a broadening of your experience and integration into something that's bigger than you, larger than your life. And so this moment with this Mercury retrograde is so important because we just talked about how Mercury is softening through the lens of Venus being in Pisces. There's a softening, there's an apology, there's something that happens in your life that softens it. There is a dreamy, delusional, poetic way of dreaming about your life. And then Venus goes into Aries. You then start to feel this shift within yourself because you're wanting to take action on something. And as Venus goes into Aries, Jupiter starts to apply this communication to Mercury still being in retrograde. Now, all of this starts next week in just about a week from now. So just about a week from today. So Wednesday, March 11th, I'm taking a look at the charts right now. Pisces, or Mercury in Pisces in the second decan, right around 12 degrees, it starts to apply a trine to Jupiter at 15 degrees. And on this day is when Jupiter goes direct. This is sort of like the second decan of things. So there is a real-time shift that is occurring, okay? It's manifesting through the impulse of reaching something that's bigger than you, okay? There is a moment here, a sudden shift where something is changing for a bigger direction. It's larger than life type of ordeal. So this Mercury retrograde isn't random. Your mindset is connected to this bigger shift. Your faith at some level gets impacted. just simply by this Jupiter, moving direct. We've got two signs that are in the realm of emotions. Well, Pisces is an emotional sign, so is Cancer. Okay. And it is tied to a bigger direction in your life. So this shift starts this week, runs into next week. So you might lose sort of clarity in February, beginning into March, but you suddenly also gain it. Sometimes confusion is a doorway to truth. When something is confusing you, you start to search for the truth. Sometimes you thought you wanted something, right? And then the retrograde here in this particular incident shows up, and the emotional reality of it shows up too, which is really, really, really important. It's tied to this particular Jupiter forward movement. Really interesting stuff. Okay. You have sort of like this belief that starts to capture you, almost grabs you in a way where you start to feel called in a certain direction, and you've got to follow it, right? That is sort of the sense between Jupiter and Mercury communicating the moment that Jupiter moves direct. So something is coming to you that grabs your attention and you say, I got to run with this now. And that Venus and Aries is supporting it, because there is this, in a good way, this impatience that's around relationships. So there might be relationships that are attached to this that want to head towards the same thing, this bigger picture, the bigger direction that is unfolding in your life, with your money, with your family. Again, we have to take a look at all these three planets and where they're unfolding in your chart, simultaneously. Now, I want to talk about something incredibly interesting that is the next timeline with this particular Mercury retrograde that we're in. And that is a couple days after Jupiter goes direct. We kind of feel like we've received the good news. We're captured by this bigger direction. There is a new sort of immediate goal or an immediate faith that takes over. We follow this instinct. We feel maybe even at some level called to do it or inspired to do it. Then around the 14th, as the week is coming towards the end, towards the weekend, Mercury is going to be conjuncting Mars. Now, this is important because as you go for this bigger direction, you have this aha moment. You are like called to do this thing. There's then this intensity, okay? This is where you start to get that first opposition. It's just like how our universe functions. We need polarity in order to understand ourselves better. We need polarity in order to grow. And this Mercury-Mars conjunction is bringing us this intensity and this courage to not really listen to our own boundaries or how we hold back anymore. This is us going, that's the sharp word I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a sharp response. I am going to say the thing that you never would hear from me before. I think there is going to be a sharp word exchange. There is sort of this moment where we just don't care anymore. Okay? This is direct energy, and this is the don't cross me energy. It's supported because this Jupiter direct trine is still intact while Mercury, still retrograde, is now conjuncting Mars. This is about protection. And this is also involving like standing up for something or someone, defending something or someone that you love. And it can feel like that the situation that you're dealing with is playing victim and villain at the very same time. This part is so incredibly interesting to me because the emotions of this retrograde plus this Jupiter direct plus this Mars, it's giving us a reactivity, but it feels very much for a cause. It feels like, okay, well, not every thought in the past I have spoken out, but now I'm going to do it. Okay, now I'm going to send that text. Now I am going to, this is worth dying on this hill. That is sort of the energy that I'm getting from this particular moment right here. So there's a distinct change in attitude. And some of you, my prediction for you is that you will either walk more towards something that you feel so much conviction about, or you're simply going to just go ahead and execute and you're not going to think about the consequences, right? Like you're either going to deal with things like head on, or this Mercury retrograde with this Mars like mixed in, it's going to be like, I'm just going to do it. I don't even care. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I think that we are in very interesting times in that we're literally in the midst of transition, of people deciding what they want more of in their life, or what a conviction, so to speak, a bigger direction. And so don't count on the same old is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. If somebody is playing victim and villain at the same time, this is going to be your opportunity now to kind of stand up against that. There could be also a moment where when you're standing up for this, it is going to actually help you heal. Because maybe in the past you didn't know what to do, but there's so much action that is being initiated now with the planets that are beginning to shift into the sign of Aries, that we feel like it's now or never. So it kind of starts here, this sort of it's now or never type of idea, the type of energy. And remember when I have spoken in my earlier podcasts about the energy of 2026 is about building resilience. And so this is the first sort of pit stop of that. This is the first chapter that we're turning of this. So that's the T for this particular Mercury retrograde. I think that you can assume to do something courageous, or you could assume to watch somebody else do something courageous, and then it inspires you as a result of it. So I really do think that this is going to be one of those moments that you will remember. It's going to be one of those moments that you will be remembering maybe for the next couple of years, like, this is the time when I have changed. This is the time when this person's changed. This is the time when I was able to stand up for something finally, and it really marked a new beginning for me. And it just was sort of like the beginning phase of this new chapter. So I believe that this Mercury, at the very moment, we need this energy. Even though it is at its fall, we need to see what is happening within our communication, within our immediate environment, and the relationships that are attached to it, because all of us are sort of in the consciousness right now, reintegrating to where we belong, where we feel like we belong in the next chapter, in the next storyline, in the next timeline. So that's the T for today and for today's podcast. I will be back for my next podcast talking about Jupiter going direct and what this actually specifically means for your sign. I also wanted to just say quickly that thank you everybody who just started following me on my new Instagram account. I am just so grateful. We have been getting some, great responses to the short form content that I've been putting out there. So if you're wanting to grab some inspo, motivation, or sort of validation for where you're at right now, definitely go check out my TikTok or Instagram and my new YouTube channel. All of that information is going to be in the show notes below. My readings are still open. If you want to get any kind of coaching, a one-on-one, all of that also is going to be in the show notes below. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.